What's going on, Broncos fans? Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown. NFL free agency officially going to get underway on Wednesday, but unofficial tampering begins on Monday, and that's kind of when the big stuff happens. That's when the big names get signed somewhere. So we're going to go through a list of the top free agent targets for the Broncos. Now, I just want to put a little disclaimer out. Things are very fluid in the NFL. So depending on the time you're watching this video, maybe someone in the video has already been signed or is rumored to go somewhere else, but it's impossible to keep up with. So here are a handful of names, I think 25, 30 names if I remember correctly, to watch for in free agency. First, let's kind of set the table with what to know for the Denver Broncos this offseason. They've got just over $26 million in cap space. Now, that could change based on a major Russell Wilson contract extension. But if not, that's where they stand right now. Their biggest needs, in my opinion, are right tackle, edge, linebacker. You're going to have to find a bit of a replacement for Noah Fant, and I think just some help at corner, right? Surtain and Darby can hold their own weight, but you are losing Kyle Fuller and Bryce Callahan to free agency, so you got to bring someone in to help with that, especially Callahan at that slot corner position. The NFL salary cap, by the way, is going up this year, rising up to $208.2 million, so that's going to help the Broncos, and whoever the new owner is, hopefully they got some deep pockets and will spend in free agency. I'll go through my list of top free agents in just a moment, but this is your chance to get involved in the show. Comment away who your top free agent target is. Let me hear it. Maybe we agree, maybe we disagree. Let's find out together, but go ahead and comment your top free agent for the Broncos this upcoming offseason. All right, so with that in mind, let's get into my top tackles. Like I said, right tackle is my biggest point of need, and here are the top tackles. I did a video on this just the other day, and it remains to be Trent Brown and Terron Armstead are head and shoulders above everyone else, just because, to be honest, it's a bit of a weak class for the right tackle position. And you look at the PFF grades here for Trent Brown, and he was one of the better right tackles, ranked 33 out of 83, overall 73.9. His pass was 77 clean, and a run of 64.9. So he was one of the better right tackles in football this past season. Armstead's a better tackle, but he was a left tackle throughout his entire career, and Garrett Bowles has never played anything but left tackle. At the end of the day, you got to keep Russell Wilson upright. I think that is priority number one. You cannot let him, after getting sacked year after year in Seattle, finishing top 5 in sacks, which I'm not going to say is only on the offensive line, but it is a little bit on Russ, so we'll kind of blur the line of who to blame completely, but at the end of the day, you got to protect the quarterback. You just traded 2 firsts, a second, and 3 players and a 5th for. That's just step number 1 right there. What do you think the bigger need is, though? Is it offensive tackle or is it edge rusher? Comment OT for tackle or edge for edge rusher down below. I'm kind of leaning offensive tackle just because you traded for a quarterback. You got to protect the guy. Let's move on to edge rushers, though. Here are my top free agent edge rushers. Surprise, surprise, Von Miller is number 1. I should have said this earlier. I got the age for everyone. I think that's just important to note. You know, how long do they have left in the tank? What to expect them out of them for years to come. Chandler Jones is also a popular name. He's been rumored to be interested in the Broncos, or mutual interest. Emmanuel Ogbah had a great couple seasons in Miami. Haason Reddick was so good for the Panthers last year. He's going to get a lot of interest. And then Derek Barnett, a former first-round pick that just hasn't worked out in Philly, but maybe just needs a change of scenery. So let's zone in on those 4 top names right there. I've got their stats from 2021, and they're pretty similar across the board, right? Chandler Jones just behind Haason Reddick in terms of sacks at 10.5 compared to Reddick at 11. Von Miller, we all know he got off to a great start for the Broncos, then had a bit of a lull, then went to the Rams, had a bit of a lull, but picked things up when it mattered most in their playoff push. So those are 4 names to keep an eye on, kind of the 4 bigger targets to pair up with Bradley Chubb and Jonathan Cooper and help out that pass rush. You guys know the drill. This is my favorite game to play on the show right now. If you want to bring Von Miller back, type 58. Works like a charm because I like to believe the more 58s he gets, we just need someone, one person in his camp, to come across this video, see all the love he gets, send him the link, and he's sitting there about to flip a coin between staying with the Rams and coming to the Broncos. He's like, you know what? There's no Rams video out there trying to keep me in LA. No one's typing 40. but Broncos country is typing 58. So I'm going to go to Denver. It's that simple. NFL free agency, though, right around the corner. And if you want free videos throughout all the craziness of NFL free agency, keeping you up to date, this is your home for it. So if you've not subscribed already, watching for the first time, appreciate you coming by our little humble abode. But go ahead, hit that big red button, subscribe, because anytime the Broncos making a move or make some action in free agency, we'll have a video coming out to you. Up next, linebacker free agents here. Couple familiar names. One, biggest one, Bobby Wagner. He has been tossed around in a bunch of different circles. Not really sure where he will end up. Apparently, he's been interested in staying in the NFC West. But other names, A.J. Johnson, Josey Jewell, two starting linebackers who had their seasons cut short in 2021 due to injuries. Will Denver bring both of them back? I've heard more noise around Josey Jewell, probably because of the age factor, but I have liked Johnson more overall. Anthony Walker's an interesting name to keep an eye on for. He got a little banged up in Cleveland last year, but he was pretty productive. And then a sleeper would be Jermaine Carter, who had a good season for the Panthers last year. Just not a household name, or not maybe as big as a name as the other guys there. But let's focus in on Josey Jewell and A.J. Johnson, because those are the two homegrown guys, right? Go to Denver and have had some good success. I think Johnson's had a better career so far than Josey Jewell, but he's a little older in the age column. So maybe that's going to be a big factor in Peyton's mind of if he had to pick one, who to sign. But now it's time for you guys to put on GM George Payton's hat and pick one. If you had to decide between Johnson and Jewell, who would it be? Go ahead and type their initials down below. I'm thinking I like Johnson more, mostly because he went to Tennessee, and that's my alma mater. And there's nothing better than when your NFL team and your college team come together like that. So let me know, but no love, no hate against Jewell and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Before we get to the rest of the free agent targets for the Broncos, St. Patrick's Day coming up, and if you want to wear some awesome Broncos St. Patty's gear, get your green in, get your Broncos in, 2 for 1 right there. Head on over to chatsports.com/BroncosGreen. I got the link in the comments and the description of the video, so you can't miss it. Thanks to our friend at Fanatics. They've got great deals going on, so check it out, chatsports.com/BroncosGreen. After Noah Fant was a part of the deal, I think a tight end may be something the Broncos look at. So Gronk's the biggest name. I don't think he comes here. If you're pulling for it, I wouldn't get your hopes up. He's only played with Brady, and I don't think that's going to change. Zach Ertz is an interesting name because he had a good season for the Cardinals, but we're not really sure where he'll go next. Haven't heard a lot out of that. Evan Engram, a young guy, former was a first-round pick for the Giants, and just didn't work out for him there. O.J. Howard, another first-round pick who's just been bottlenecked with Gronkowski ahead of him in the depth chart. That's an interesting name to keep an eye on. And Alie-Cox. Those last 3 names right there are cheaper options because the Broncos may not have the opportunity to splurge and try and get a top tight end like Gronk or Ertz. That's why I kind of lean towards drafting a tight end. Now, this draft class doesn't have a lot of good tight ends. Trey McBride, probably the biggest tight end in this draft class, and he's not going to go until maybe round 3. Maybe he sneaks into round 2. But at the end of the day here, if you draft a tight end, it's going to be cheaper, right? Rookie contracts are way less than signing someone off the street that's got proven talent. And so I kind of lean that direction. But we'll see what the Broncos do. Now some cornerback free agents here. J.C. Jackson's the biggest one of all. He's not going to end up in Denver. He's going to go out and get about $20 million. The Broncos cannot afford to pay him $20 million. They're already paying Surtain 9th overall pick kind of money. They gave Darby a nice contract last offseason, but it's a fun idea. Rasul Douglas, a bit of a journeyman who found a home in Green Bay. He hits free agency at the right time. Someone's going to give him some nice change. Justin Coleman and Tavon Young. Tavon Young and Bryce Callahan are probably the two most interesting, we'll say realistic names, because the Broncos need a slot corner. That's what Callahan is. When Callahan's healthy, I think he's the best or one of the best slot corners in the NFL. When he's healthy. Young, similar situation. Great slot corner. He's just getting priced out of Baltimore. Really, Baltimore's pricing him out. They just can't afford to pay Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, and Tavon Young. So those are two names to keep an eye on for. At the end, I think the cornerback position may get the bit of a shaft when it comes to free agent money. You've already got Darby and Surtain to good contracts. Darby's on a 3-year deal, so he's got 2 and 3 left of that deal. Surtain's just entering his 2nd year in the NFL. There's just not going to be enough money to go around to every position of need. So maybe they don't even really sign a big-name corner. Maybe they just roll with drafting someone late. Kind of like Kerry Vincent Jr. last year. that kind of approach of we can't fill every single hole on this roster. It's already a really talented roster, but there's no perfect roster. So I just don't see the cornerback position getting a lot of money. All right, to wrap up today's video, if you guys are still pumped about the Russell Wilson trade like I am, go ahead and like today's video. I don't think I'll ever come down from this high, right? I'm like a mile high right now in terms of happiness about Russell Wilson going to Denver. So if you're in the same boat camp as me, go ahead, hit that thumbs up icon, and let's get ready for NFL free agency because it's right around the corner, like I said, coming up in just a couple hours, days, depending on when you're watching this, and it's a lot of fun.